Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be talking about 5 tips I have for you guys to save money on your reptiles. I thought this would fit in with the theme of how much do certain reptiles cost. Instead of making it specific to a reptile though, this is just in general, so I hope you take away some saving points from this. So let's get to it, and we'll start with number 5. A general ideology: plan ahead. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to do something last minute and overspent, specifically doing DIY stuff. If I rush a build or something, sometimes I miss a measurement by an inch or so, and missing a measurement by an inch on a piece of plywood or something like that, that could really screw up an enclosure build. Building a bioactive enclosure for your Crested Gecko, trying to find container for your inverts that you're going to be breeding and feeding to your reptiles. Well, there's definitely savings points there, and if you look ahead of time and not last minute, you can find containers that are cheaper than others and possibly even on sale, but just as great of quality. And you can be looking into different ways to do DIY backgrounds, different things to be putting into a bioactive setup that could be cheaper some places than other places. Basically, when you're in a rush, you don't make the smartest decision. In complete honesty, I honestly think number 5 is where I waste most of my money. I am a very last minute type of person. Up until recent, I didn't even really plan out my videos until the day of, so I really fall into that trap, and you could definitely really save some money with analyzing things ahead of time. So number 5 is a very important ideology to come in with when approaching a project. It might not hurt you as bad if it's something little, but I think either way, you can probably at least save a couple dollars with this mindset. Oh, and before going into number 4, since this will feed into it, buying excess amount of things, buying in bulk, that's a great way to save some money and requires a lot of planning ahead. If you're getting enclosures, for instance, a lot of enclosure builders like AP Cages, Animal Plastics will give you some really good discounts for buying in bulk. But that's going to lead us into number 4. Let's get to it. So like I was saying, buying in bulk is a great way to save money, not only in the reptile hobby, but also in general. For an example, I get my halogen floodlights in packs of 6. Now there are packs of 2, but getting them in packs of 2, that would be a lot more expensive. Well, not a lot more expensive, but more expensive. And I know I'm gonna go through them eventually. I'm not gonna ever run out of the need for them, so I buy them in packs of 6s. So that's something you could do. Also, just one general price point that you're always gonna be saving on is shipping costs. You know, everything's online nowadays, and instead of buying in smaller units and paying that shipping cost each time, if you buy in bulk, that's a shipping cost that you're going to pay less and less. So right off the bat there, you're probably saving yourself anywhere from $8 to $15 every shipment you can condense into bulk. So it's really important to do that. It's a great way to go about it. I guess one more example I can give you guys, which is a really good one, is Reptile. They really actually incentivize you to buy in bulk. They give free shipping on orders over $200, and that's definitely in bulk. So Reptile's primary example, I mean, by buying $200 worth, you're really offsetting the cost of shipping, and they're still making a profit. So it just shows how beneficial, not only to you buying in bulk is, it's beneficial to the company as well. So there's a lot of incentives to buying in bulk. Do you know what else is good to do in bulk? Subscribe to this channel, so make sure you check that lower right hand corner, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell as well for the latest updates on the channel. Thanks guys, I appreciate it. Let's go on with the video. So yes, number 3 is an obvious one. Go DIY. I think I made it very apparent in my specific reptile, how much do they cost videos, that DIY saves you a lot of money. Between my Ackie Monitor, Tegu, and Bearded Dragon versions, I think doing some type of DIY-esque enclosure saved about $200 to $800 versus the lowest bar for commercial builds. And the good news is, despite it being scary, DIY is really not that bad. Trust me, I am not a fantastic constructor, builder, whatever you want to call me. So I made some shabby mistakes and some shabby builds that I think I improved a little upon since, but you can really do anything with minimal experience and minimal tools. It'll still save you a lot of money, even if you make a couple mistakes. If you want some help though, I do have an Ackie Monitor enclosure build guide that'll be in the description. It's going to be in a Google Doc link. Check that out if you're looking to see how I build those enclosures. DIY doesn't always necessarily requires some type of building either. I mean, I would count grow tents as sort of DIY because you do have to do some fixes to make it more appropriate for a reptile. And honestly, the largest price point of saving was in my Tegu video for an enclosure, and that was a grow tent being $200 to $300, I guess, versus like an AP enclosure, which is over $1,000. So even that doesn't require much building or alteration to the grow tent, but I would still kind of count that as DIY. Another point is you can make decor for the inside of your reptile's enclosure, being if it's a large reptile like my Tegu, he has a custom basque hide. Now, I bought that from someone, and he actually probably did it for a cheaper price than if I was to go to a more commercial I don't know what you want to call it, a more industrialized company, I guess is the way to put it. But he did it for a good price, but even if I did it myself, I could probably have done it for less. I mean, freight shipping alone was a lot of money, so there you go. There's another area you could do DIY. Well, I said I probably waste most of my money not planning ahead. I definitely think the biggest margin for saving is in going DIY, and what we'll talk about at number 1 in a moment. But first, we gotta get on to number 2, so let's talk about that before we get to number 1. Breeding your feeders. You know, I talked about where most of my money goes, where the largest margin of saving is. The largest saving over a long period of time, the lifetime of a reptile keeper, is definitely in breeding your own feeders. Feeders like dubia roaches really do cost quite a lot for what they are, especially over time. If you have no resources, no reserve of your own, that's a lot you'll be spending, especially if you have multiple reptiles. So breeding your own, which doesn't require much work, effort, or initial cost, that's a gold mine right there. You should really do that. It'll save you a lot of money over your reptile keeping lifetime. And better yet, breed a diversity of them. It's always good to have excess feeders lying around if you have a reptile room. Like I said, maybe if you have one reptile, you don't need to be breeding feeders. But if you have a few, having crickets breeding, having superworms breeding, having dubia roaches breeding. Man, I'm messing up a ton right now. If you have various ones around, that allows you to mix and match, allows you to do diverse feeding, which is always good. You never want to rely on just one invert. You want to add in a lot of diversity. That's a great thing to do. None of them require a ton of work. And sometimes if you have excess, which I don't, but if you do, you can sell them off and you can make the profit that other people are making by selling really expensive feeders. I do have a really old dubia roach colony guide. I'll put that in the top right. Be easy on me. That was like my 3rd ever video, and I can't guarantee all the information is as up to date as I'd like, but maybe I'll make another one of those. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see another dubia roach colony video, but updated. Right now, I'm breeding crickets and dubia roaches, maybe superworms eventually, but I'd like to get into red runners. I want to add some diversity in my roaches, and red runners, I heard, are very active, a lot more than dubia roaches, and don't immediately go to hide, so I think that's where I'm going next in my feeder journey. Enough about me, though. Let's get to number 1, your final savings tip. Provide proper husbandry. You might be thinking this is a joke right now, but it's really not. Vet care, that is extremely expensive. Even just going for a checkup, that can add up, especially with exotics, which are a lot harder to keep and a lot less is known about them compared to typical pets like dogs and cats. You might go into giving improper care, trying to cut some corners as a way to save money, but overall, it's probably not optimal for the health of your reptile and will lead to problems with them in the future. So yeah, you might be spending a little bit more up front, but I guarantee you over the lifetime of that animal, you're probably going to be spending more in vet care versus what you would have spent giving them proper care in the first place. I would say a typical exotic checkup at an exotic vet would be about $30 to $50, which you probably should do no matter what. I know a lot of people don't do it, but you can always benefit from the perspective of an outsider, someone who is not you, so I think you go for it. But anyway, if you go and then they have problems, you're going to be leading into x-rays, you're going to be leading into possible ultrasounds, medicine, and any one of those is like 100 at the base. And obviously this is assuming you're a good owner who actually cares about their reptiles. I know this really didn't need to be said, but I'm really tired of people get into the hobby and then really don't take that great of care of their reptiles, knowingly so. So I just had to add that little tidbit in. But anyway, when it comes down to it, what I'm really promoting is don't try to cut corners $100 at any point for your reptiles husbandry related things, you're gonna end up paying more in the end anyway, and you could definitely spend quite a fortune on vet bills. So if you make the mistake of giving improper care knowingly, obviously if you don't do it on purpose, it's a mistake, you know, that's a learning process. You're gonna spend money there. But if you knowingly know you're cutting corners, you're gonna waste a lot of money there. Let's wrap this video up with a recap and a couple announcements. At number 5, we have plan ahead. Planning ahead can really let you see your options available and check for any sales. Number 4, ordering in bulk. That'll obviously save you money and save you on shipping at least every time. Number 3, go DIY. That's definitely the biggest margin for saving. I talked multiple times of how just doing your own enclosure builds, which anybody can really do, will save you hundreds of dollars on any reptile. Number 2, breed your feeders. This is a very obvious one and definitely the one that'll save you the most over your lifetime of reptile keeping. And finally, number 1, provide proper husbandry. This will save you so much in vet bills, which you should be doing if you really care about your reptiles. So definitely don't cut any corners in the beginning and you won't have to pay those excess bills. Okay, and finally, just a couple announcements and then we'll end the video. Shout out to you great patrons out there, Kat and Rick, Mahan's Bioactive Reptiles, Brian B, Angela L, Herb M, and David T. You guys are great. Thanks so much for supporting the channel. You guys too can support the channel for as little as $1 a month. Check the top right for more information. Support the channel in a different way by rocking the Professor Herp merch. I'm wearing my Salads for Chumps t-shirt with Max on it right now. That'll be to the left of my head, right of your screen. Check the description for a Teespring link to see more of that. Okay guys, I'll see you Monday for the next video post. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you guys next time.